It's very simple in my mind. And I believe Charlie Munger, the legendary Charlie Munger, said it best, which is you show me the incentives and I will show you the outcome. I cannot stress how important incentives are and how incentives drives human behavior. I know that when people are incentivized, both financially incentivized as well as incentivized for how will this help their career, it could drive significant outsized returns. So make sure you juice it up.
Welcome to the Venture and Victory podcast, where we look at the entrepreneurial journey from startup to exit. And we've got a great show for you today. I'm Tim Tonella, your host, and I'm totally pumped because we got Vijay Khanna in the house. And Vijay, in all disclosure, is a longtime friend, a client of MatchStar's, and kind of an informal mentor in a way of mine based on what he's done over his life. I have to be honest, Vijay, well, first of all, let's say hello. Hello, Vijay. Great to have you on the pod.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
Yeah. Now, Vijay, your career, in my personal opinion, having been an executive recruiter, having worked with so many different types of candidates, founders, starters over the years, I really have to say that your career is nothing short of remarkable. It's so complex and diverse. You've been a venture investor, startup founder, a large scale operated, worked for big companies, and then you played a key role, more than a key role. I mean, right up there at the top, in scaling one of the most successful enterprise software companies in history that ultimately went public in one of the largest IPOs. And Vijay today serves as UiPath's Chief Corporate Development Officer, which is a position that he's held for the past 7 years, reporting directly to the company's founder and CEO. Prior to UiPath, he was an executive at SAP. We first met Vijay when he was leading GIV Ventures, which is an early stage VC fund founded by Verifone founder Bill Melton. And we worked on a lot of stuff together. We've remained close over the years, friends over the years. Even when you went to launch your own healthcare startup, we were one of the first calls to help you find that key team to launch that project for you. So it's really an honor. We're going to touch on all kinds of things about venture investing and startups and even faith at the end. And I'm just really excited and honored to have you on the pod, Vijay.
Thank you for having me. And I'm a big fan of yours. And hopefully we'll get to talk about the great work that you guys do at MatchStar, which is so cool, which is why we were fortunate enough to have your firm represent us back in the day, and look forward to working with you guys more. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you, Vijay, for that. All right, let's jump right into UiPath. It's a very famous company. Everyone that is familiar with the large IPOs that happened several years ago, and really the hyper growth of the company. It's one of those stories that's absolutely worth telling. You were involved in literally scaling UiPath, which is an enterprise software company, from 0 to 1.6 billion in ARR in just 8 years. I should say the company did. Which is kind of unheard of if you think of those metrics. Today, from a statistical standpoint, UiPath has more than 10,000 customers, 3,500 employees, and 300 enterprise clients that actually pay over $1 million annually, and that's on a global scale. So kind of staggering metrics, to be honest. But before we get into the driving forces kind of behind this incredible growth, let's kind of go back to the beginning. I know you left kind of a cushy, high-paying corporate job at a very well multi-billion-dollar established company to join a startup out of Romania. Now, what on earth gave you the conviction to take that leap of faith?
Boy, you're getting right to the meat of it. UiPath. First, again, thank you for having me, Ted. UiPath is a very special company, and like most companies, it starts at the top of the house, and it starts with the founder and the CEO, the vision that the founder and the CEO has. In the case of UiPath, that's my good friend and our founder and our CEO. His name is Daniel Da. I met Daniel in a little Marriott Courtyard Hotel in downtown New York in 2017. And he had just raised his Series A round financing. And, I had not met someone who he's a very special person. He was, I had not met someone who had such extraordinary product knowledge and was so humble. He was extremely humble. He was very self-deprecating. He kept saying all the things that could go wrong with his product. But at the end of the day, he was a visionary, and he said all the things about where RPA, which stands for robotic process automation, where RPA could go. And so I spent more and more time with him, and it became very clear that there's something over here which is much bigger than what we can see. And so I was very convinced that there's something big over here. What I found, what gave me the conviction to join UiPath was the transparency by which Daniel introduced the company, spoke about the company, spoke about the vision. I was encouraged by his how humble he was. I was extremely impressed by the product and engineering team at the time, and even now, that he had assembled. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to work with Romanian engineers and product people who I interacted with when I had joined the company in 2018. They are wicked smart. I found it to be a company that people, by and large, most of the people I met when I joined UiPath had very, very strong opinions. But they were also very respectful of other people's opinions. And so that was really good. And all of those were great things. I guess what gave me the final conviction to take a leap of faith and join a company that was doing less than 40 million in ARR was not because of what UiPath was in 2017 or 2018, but what UiPath would become. My experiences at SAP, my experiences in working with some great founders was you take something which is a super product, and what else would you assemble around it to make it something which is very, very big, a platform. And so I knew that if we could do what I had painted for Daniel in terms of where this company could go, if he would allow me the opportunity to execute on that vision, on that strategic roadmap and the vision, then this could be significantly bigger. And so the vision that I had in my mind was around a modern automation platform. And thankfully, Daniel gave us the autonomy to go, autonomy is a strong word to use, but gave us the room to go run with those ideas. And we took it from an RPA company we completely reimagined what a modern automation platform should look like. Yeah. And it should have everything from integration services, document understanding, to testing, to process mining. And you don't get to the scale that we have if you were just a single product company. You've been in the valley your whole life, and I think you would agree with me. And so now in the world of agentic automation that everyone is talking about, you really need to have all of that plumbing, that tooling to be able to go into a large public sector or a bank or a hospital and say you could do agentic offerings. That's what we have helped build at UiPath, and I feel very blessed to be here for those 7 years.
It had to be funny because when you said, I think we could be bigger, and you're at 40 million in revenue or ARR, and then what you think you're possibly thinking you could be 30 or 40 times bigger? That's a lot bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew we'd be big, significantly bigger. You also knew it because Daniel was just if you kind of think about what he did, I don't see too many entrepreneurs who, when they get their Series A round of financing, say, we're going to go open up an operation in Tokyo, in London, in New York. And so he was bold. He wanted to go fast. And I just feel fortunate that the stars aligned, that I was able to come in and help him achieve this vision with a number of other people who are extremely important to us, who I hear and who are no longer with the company.
I think you said something very early on. You were talking about his honesty, integrity, And I know in the past we've talked about how he was very open with sharing information. You said humility. I find that, great companies, not small companies, great companies, companies that are, are doing $1 billion plus in revenue, that they have very distinct cultures. And I believe that culture flows from the top and then is supported and then built ground up. And I'm sure this part of the success of that company has to do with the culture you built. And that culture started with him and being the founder of the company and those values that he bequeathed to everyone in the organization.
100%. I mean, I'll be very specific about the culture. Um, you know, he, he was one who promoted healthy debates. He promoted, if people were in a conference room, in a meeting room, agreeing with him, you could sense that he was very uncomfortable. He enjoyed a very healthy debate. Culture, and not just him, the leadership team, the entire company, they just preferred, there was no, genuinely, I never felt there was a hierarchy. It was just, if you have a strong opinion and you can back that up, then go for it. Tim, it was also like having fun. Like people actually generally had a lot of fun. It was just, there were a lot of offsites. There were a lot of, you just having fun and, you know, everything goes really well also when you're winning. And we were just
That's what.
winning. So
That's
winning helps a lot.
Yeah, that's going to say, it's always more fun when you're on the upside than the downside, let's say. So, but it's not always easy though. Hyper growth is as much of a challenge as, massive revenue loss. It's just, it's a different side of another coin. And if it's not managed well, how many companies you've seen are growing so fast they derail themselves. So it sounds like you guys struck a great balance. I want to touch to something that's close to my heart. And that is, Concierge, the concierge medicine company that you had started, because I remember you called me up and I'm thinking, God, I've had this experience with Vijay. He's worked for these big corporations and I know what that lifestyle's like. I worked for an $8 billion company and I was one of 10 guys running, $1 billion company when I was younger. There's a lot of safety and security there. Then you go to become this VC and know that well, got to know you working on many, many portfolio companies when you managed the fund with for Bill Melton.
Yeah.
And then you called me up one night and said, I think I'm going to do something on my own. I'm just going to, and you literally started from the ground zero. You didn't join a company that had funding and a team. This was literally your idea. And you were telling me before you even started it, the research that you had done, you had spoken to like 200 people just to figure out product market fit and whether this is an idea. I thought, wow, he's really serious about this. The VC is going to start from scratch, like on the back of a napkin. And so you set out to innovate in the primary care industry by introducing a new form of concierge medicine. And I want to just touch base, like what inspired you to make that transition and become really the quintessential startup guy? And for the audience, after it only took 2.5 years and you ended up selling the company, love to find out what led to that decision as well.
Yeah. I had the great privilege to have worked for an amazing entrepreneur who you know extremely well, and Bill Melton. And so when you work for someone like Bill, who founded Verifone and CyberCat and main mastermind behind TNSI and the board of AOL, you just are always, you cannot help but every day wake up and feel this rush of entrepreneurship running through your body. And so I always wanted to do something. And then my kids at the time were very small. My daughter must have been 5. My son was 3. And I'm sure you had this with your kids, Tim, that you would find them going to the pediatrician's office often when they were when they're little babies and kids. And I just was very frustrated seeing my wife and myself deal with the fax machine. And it's this fax machine that I was so annoyed with. I was also very annoyed that the people who were in the pediatrician's office were working such long hours. They were stressed. They were not, sometimes I did not feel like they were very polite. And so I was trying to figure out what could we do to make this a better experience, a frictionless experience. I had the good fortune of having a concierge doctor, and, concierge medicine, as the name implies, is where you pay anywhere from $3,000 a year to maybe your neighbors pay $50,000. a year in concierge medicine. And so I just decided that, the iPhone tag was about 5 years old. And I said, maybe we could do something where we could build this beautiful patient engagement solution. And what I wanted to do was allow busy parents, mom and dads, to be able to interact with their primary care doctor, their pediatrician, so that they could schedule appointments for their kids, uh, get all their school forms and camp forms, be able to do a video consultation with the doctor, be able to get personalized health education, and truly make this a frictionless experience for busy young working moms. That was the inspiration. And the name Concierge was it's a concierge-like service, but at a fraction of the price. And so the vision was, we will, for the premium subscribers, we will charge them $100 a year. And the doctor gets $50 and we will get $50. And this was focused on independently on primary care physicians. Yeah. And you're right. I spent a lot of time talking to a lot of people, a lot of doctors, a lot of entrepreneurs. But no one told me how primary care doctors think. It's very different. It did not come out in my research. And I realized that I made a bad decision. The product was gorgeous. I had a really awesome engineering and product team. So the product was beautiful. The business model in theory was brilliant. In practicality, trying to get primary care doctors to subscribe did not make much. It wasn't. I yet don't see them having a product like this. Fortunately, at the time, there was a company, also happens to be in the Philadelphia area, that was the key investor behind that was Edgar Bronfman Jr. And they has started this company called Accolade, and they needed a product. They didn't have a product. They needed a product. They liked our product. And so it was, I thought it would be a good decision to bring that on board and rather merge with them. And so that is when I made the decision to sell the company to them. And unfortunately, Accolade went public in 2020. I think it was either late 2019 or early 2020. It was a very good IPO. And thankfully, all my investors did quite well. And so it was a very good outcome.
Well, I feel your pain because, when we start off with the first few children, we actually did have a concierge program that worked with us. There were a couple folks doing that at the pediatric level in San Francisco. But like you said, the first couple children were great. The doctor was amazing. They'd come to your home. It was incredible. You got that kind of platinum service. But then once I started getting out to 4 kids, like you said, the costs end up becoming a challenge for you. So I understand, that situation. But I know we were very excited. I could completely understand what you're trying to achieve because I was like kind of the end user that was suffering from the experience and wanted a better way to transition. And I felt it was also a fun search because having known what you wanted to accomplish, you had hired us to find your chief technical officer to help you build the platform out. Yeah. And it was very exciting to go through that. I was also very excited after the transition happened that Accolade ended up, moving her into their CTO role, which I felt very, very good about that as part of the experience.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, your company, MatchStar, it's, I wish other executive search firms had the approach to hiring of executives in the way you guys did. What I found so unique about the way you guys approach your clients is, if you think about when you're building a product, launching a product, you do so many focus group studies. You spend time with customers and partners. You understand their journey. You go through all of that. Have very detailed notes, and then you give it to the engineering team to go build that. At least in my experience, I have never come across anyone that has asked the number of questions. I mean, you guys really spent an inordinate amount of time understanding what was it, in the case of Concierge MD that I was looking to hire, what was it that they were going to be working on? What is the background? What are the sensitivities what is the culture that we were looking to build? And by the way, we've done that also for all the portfolio companies that we hired you guys for. And the questionnaire that MatchStar works on, for those who haven't seen it, I don't know if you publish that questionnaire on your website or as a sample, but when you read that questionnaire, both for the client and for the candidate, it is so helpful because they know whether this is something they want to embark on or they don't. And I have, you ended your friendship with me, but I have drawn a lot of inspiration from that questionnaire. And as I think about whether it's an M&A deal or even hiring someone, because it's the template you need on how to think about bringing someone on board. It's so helpful.
Thank you. That's really kind of the brainchild of two of our founders, Carolyn Connor and Heidi Harrison, as you know.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult because information is so unstructured when you go out there and look. And it helps to really try to figure out what's kind of the core objective, where are you going, and then kind of work backwards and develop a profile, a target candidate profile that way. You know, one of the things that's so interesting, Vijay, is when you work with super early stage companies, and we work with a lot of Series A companies and Series B companies, you call them startups, a lot of the founders are looking to hire a leadership role where they have never hired that role before, or they have never been in that role before.
Yeah.
And they honestly, they know what they want to achieve in theory, but they have no idea what that person should look like. They don't even know how to frame it. It's not like working with a big company where they're doing the replacement of the seventh person in the same role. And so part of the whole process is to help them figure out exactly what they're going to need, and in a way that we can define it so that we can really target in on the profile of that individual and then go out and find some real superstars. And then the X factor is you've got to sell them the dream. You've got to sell them a new experience. You have to get them to see what their life could look like if they make this transition. And it's been a lot of fun. We had such a great time with you, as working with you as a board member, then working with you as the startup client. And then all the different conversations we've had over the years about life and the business. I feel that whenever we have these conversations, I walk away with a 1 + 1 = 3 experience. So that's amazing.
As well.
Yeah. So hey, one thing I wanted to touch on, because I do know you so well personally, is this issue of faith. I've spoken a lot about my own faith over the years. We're both Catholic. I always tell the story that you were blessed earlier in your life that the famous Mother Teresa actually stayed at your home in India. And so I'm guessing that foundation was started through your family and your parents, but like all of us, we go through life's experiences, and a lot of times our personal faith is solidified later on life as we go through the ups and downs and experiences of life. And I want to just touch on that real quickly. And I'm guessing that's a gift that you've given to your children. I'm also assuming it started in childhood, but you had a lot of other experiences in life that did solidify that. Was there a particular experience or two that really made you deep thinkly about your faith and the importance of that? And not only, your personal life, but your business life and how you treat people and those you come in contact with in general.
Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. I was given that gift by my parents, more specifically my mom. She and she was very blessed, and she's given so much back. I just think, for me, it's such a key part of who I am. I am very fortunate that my kids have the faith, in a very big way, and I don't see how I could take it out of who I am as a person. So it comes with me wherever I go. It's not like I have hours of faith and hours of non-faith. They are part and parcel of who at least I am as a human being. And so whether that is an M&A deal I'm working on, whether that's a partnership I'm working on, whether that's a sales opportunity I'm working on, it is something that helps me. It gives me structure and the structure that I need. And I believe I do the right thing, and I at least attempt to do the right thing, and I work hard to do the right thing. So it's given me that structure I need, and the guidance that I need. And I know that if I'm doing it in that way, then I will be thinking about the outcome very differently. And so it's a huge part of who I am, and I know it's a huge part of you as well, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yes, of course.
you've shared that very deeply. It's also a huge part of my wife. She's not Catholic; she's Hindu, and I know faith is a big part for hers. And so for me, it's it gives me the centrality of life in the way I need it, and so it's been just such a big blessing that I have that in me.
Yeah, and I feel like that word that you brought up initially about the CEO of UiPath, this idea of humility. A lot of people, they're super humble, not exclusively, but it does stem from their faith, and it doesn't matter, what faith or religion you have, whether you're Christian or Jewish or Muslim. It doesn't make any difference. It's that idea that we can't handle everything in our life on our own.
Yeah.
Things are happening, for us and not to us. And that belief in a higher power that all things will work out in the end. If we try to do the right thing, we try to treat people fairly, try to live a life of commitment and integrity. And that stems from all, religious philosophies primarily. And I think that's a good thing. And I wish candidates would share that, not share it in terms of the religion aspect, but share that idea of a core value system, because we talked about culture early. And so much of culture is how you treat your fellow employees, your constituents, your fellow man. It's not, it's not something you're not humble at work and then terrible at the family. And it's people that are humble that tends to transcend across everything in their life. And I think it's a distinction that you often see in really great leaders as well. And so I think that's a nice thing. And most of my friends, or a lot of my friends, kind of share that same value system. And I appreciate you having the courage to just talk about it. I think it's a great thing. I think if more people shared it, we'd be better off as a world. Yeah.
No, it's very important. And I approach everything from, you cannot you'll be at odds, and you'll be conflicted if I do something which is not in alignment with my faith. And so it's important for me to do the right thing to the best of my knowledge. And many times I mess up, probably more often than not, but I try to make sure that that's not intentional. And if it is, I definitely try to apologize if I've done something which did not go well. But faith is a big part of who I am.
Well, it's obviously led you to build a very wonderful family and have lots of victories and successes in your life. So you must be doing something right. I would stick to it. But the big question is, for the man that's kind of done almost everything, what's next for Vijay Khanna?
That's a good question. Thank you for asking. I've been 7 years now with UiPath, and it's been, seeing the company from 40 million to where we are today, seeing it grow globally. It's been so much fun. I love this job that I find myself in, which is growth, driving growth. Combination of M&A, combination of strategy. It's a combination of strategic partnerships. It's a combination of helping to write the S1 and taking the company public. So all of these things is something that I enjoy, and we'll see where the road takes us next. But it's been, it's certainly the last 7 years has been a lot of fun.
That's great. I know you're gonna eventually do something that's going to add to that diversity of experiences. And on that note, I like to always leave these podcasts with kind of your thoughts, your impressions, your own collective wisdom from the decades of the various experiences you've had as a board member, as a startup founder, as a core kind of growth leader, as someone who's taken company publics, and someone who also has had moderate success, not always tremendous success, even had some failures in your life, and is faithful. Is there anything you want to pass on to younger people today who are either want to start companies, they're starting companies, or maybe they're part of those teams that are kind of going through that those initial hurdles right now in a world in which it seems to me like the only absolute in the world these days is rapid change. Any collective wisdom you would give to someone like that, almost advice you'd give to your, young teenager as they were
Yeah.
stepping out into the world?
Yeah. The first thing is some of the best pieces of advice I got when I was starting my company was to get out of your comfort zone. And if you find yourself being in your comfort zone, then you're doing something wrong. I did that. I thought, well, when I started my company, my CEO and founder, he did that extremely well. Here at UiPath, I never thought I'd get involved in sales in the way I got involved in sales, for example. So getting out of your comfort zone is something that I highly recommend. Giving people autonomy is something that I recommend, letting them just run with it. It's amazing when you share what the outcome should be or the goals should be. Just give them a sense of what the definition of success would be and let them chart their own course and run with it. It's amazing what happens. I think that's something. And I guess, I am a big Charlie Munger fan. I think you are as well. And there are so many maxims of Charlie Munger that we both love. But the one that I like a lot is his beautiful quote of, "You show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome."
For
And
sure.
and sometimes, I found that the equity generosity may not be there sometimes. And I can assure you that being generous with equity, especially when you're an early stage company,
Yeah.
it pays a tremendous amount of dividends. And I would probably say that is my biggest piece of advice. Just make sure that, uh, you know, incentives drive outcome. And you just want to make sure that that is not something you've gotten wrong. Would you
Yeah.
agree with me? You do that for a
Well,
living.
I agree with you all the time. It's one of the biggest issues that you find with founders, particularly a lot of real startup founders who've never been through the cycle either once or twice before, and they've heard the horror stories, right? You don't want to give away too much. You're going to grow. You're going to do future rounds. You're going to have dilution. But the smart ones realize that success is really built by human capital, in my opinion. You can have the greatest technology in the world. You can have tons of money, right? But still, in spite of all that, it's people behind the scenes that are driving everything from implementation to acquisition, right? To the growth and strategy. It's people. And if you are all kind of rowing in the same direction and everyone has their eye on the same prize and is in on it, then I think you're able to not only achieve high things, but you're able to weather the inevitable storms that happen along the way. If you don't have that equity incentive and you're just kind of a gun for hire, and there's 50 million recruiters out there on LinkedIn pinging you every day saying, I can get you a 10,000, 20,000 K signing bonus and a 20% more in salary. And you feel like, hey, we missed the funding round. We're not hitting our milestones at the pace in which we thought we would. The board's all over me. Your core team has to have a reason to stay and manage through the pain. And of course, part of that is belief in you, the leader, and the vision, but also the incentive structure has to be there, or else you can just be bought away. So, yeah, another thing too. Yeah, I had a mentor I had very, very early on said something similar to your first comment, which was he said, whatever you do, get into a position where you have absolutely no safety net.
Yeah.
And I guess that's akin to the old, whether it was Alexander the Great or Napoleon, or there's been many people have used that iteration of drop the troops on the shore and then burn the ships behind them.
Yeah, totally.
When there's no way to go back and you're completely exposed, then you fight for your life. And so, great piece of advice. And Charlie Munger, God bless him, was amazing. We still have Warren Buffett with us, and he's got a lot of great things we can say, and we're still learning from him as well. So,
Question. Yeah.
so Vijay, hey, it was really an honor having you on the pod. It's been great knowing you all these years, the friendship, and we're really looking forward to, where your life takes you over the next 10 years. And hopefully you'll be back on the pod to talk about, new experiences and new things going on in your life at some point. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you, Tim, and I wish you great success too. Thank you.
Okay. And that's a wrap. Cheers, everyone.
The Venture to Victory podcast is provided by MatchStar Venture Search. If you're interested in any of our open executive roles or need help sourcing world-class talent for your company, check out our website at matchstar.com.